Français 3. Expressions négatives. You are already familiar with some of the negative expressions in French. In fact, you've been using them since 7th grade. The first one is ne pas. This is simply the basic negative. If you just want to say that something is not true, you're going to use ne pas. The next one is ne jamais, which means never. And you use them in the same way. When you use the previous negative expressions around a verb, you're going to put ne before the verb and the second part, whether it's pas or jamais, after the verb. If it's a two-verb sentence, a conjugated verb plus an infinitive, for example, I am going to do something, I want to do something, you're going to put the expression around the conjugated verb. For example, je ne veux pas aller, or je ne vais jamais aller. If the verb is in a compound tense, like the passé composé, you're going to put the expression around the helping verb, with the ne going before the helping verb and the second part after the helping verb. So, for example, je ne suis pas allé, or je n'ai jamais mangé. You may have seen some of these other negative expressions in French, and some of them might be new to you, so make sure that you take note of what they mean. Ne aucun or aucune means not a single one. Ne ni is neither nor. Ne nulle part, nowhere. Ne personne, no one. Ne plus, no more. Ne que, only, none except. Ne rien, nothing. And these are used in various ways, so on the next few slides we're going to talk about each one individually and how you would use them. Also, please be aware that sometimes there is some difference in translation simply because we word things a little bit differently in English. When you use a negative expression around a verb, you're going to put the ne before the verb and the second part after the verb, just like you do with ne pas and ne jamais. If it's a two-verb sentence, a conjugated verb plus an infinitive, or if the verb is in a compound tense, such as the passé composé, the ne should usually go before the conjugated or helping verb, with the second part after the infinitive or after the past participle, and you will see some examples of this coming up. Ne aucun. This expression must be followed by a singular noun, and the word aucun must agree with the noun. That means that if it is masculine, you're going to say aucun, and if it is feminine, you're going to say aucune, adding the E. It's really important to make sure that it's followed by a noun, otherwise this expression doesn't make any sense. And there are a couple of really common examples of this. The first one is je n'ai aucune idée. Je n'ai aucune idée. This means I have no idea, or I don't have any idea. I don't have a single idea in my head, not a clue. You're going to use this expression, je n'ai aucune idée. And you hear it quite often in authentic French. Nous n'avons appelé aucune personne. We didn't call a single person, or we didn't call anyone. When you use aucun or aucune, it really puts stress on the fact that there's not a single thing you did, not a single thing that you know or had, or whatever your verb is, like not even one. Aucun. Notice here that the ne and aucune go around the entire passé composé. That's the helping verb and the past participle. Most of these expressions that we're going through that are new to you will work this way, whereas ne pas and ne jamais only go around the helping verb. Ne aucun goes around the entire thing. Ne ni. This is the neither nor expression. And when you're using this, you have to be sure that you put ni immediately before both options. So, for example, je ne mangerai ni des oignons ni des champignons. I would eat neither onions nor mushrooms. Now, that is the technical English way you should say it. If it's in the negative, you should say neither nor. But really in English, we use or. I wouldn't eat onions or mushrooms. We're really not supposed to. If it's negative, you use nor, and if it's affirmative, you use or. That's supposed to be the way it is, but it's not the way we actually do things. It's really important that you know, though, that in French, if it is negative, you have to use ne, ni. You cannot use ou, which means or. If it's negative, if you have ne, you have to use ni. And notice, again, that it's going in front of both options. Ni des oignons, ni des champignons. In English, we only put nor before the second option. So here's another example. Nous n'avons voyagé ni en Australie ni au Mexique. We've traveled to neither Australia nor Mexico. Or the way we would actually say it, we haven't traveled to Australia or Mexico. Again, if it's negative in French, you have to use ni. So the ne before the whole thing, and then the ni directly in front of my options. Ni en Australie, ni au Mexique. Everyone always wants to know, can you do more than one? You can, and if you do, you have to put ni in front of every single option. But really, you're most likely to just use two options here. Ne nulle part. This one means nowhere. So here are some examples. Je ne chercherai nulle part. I wouldn't look anywhere. Remember that chercher means to look for. So this is the idea of searching. Okay? I wouldn't look anywhere. That's the way we would actually say it. You could also translate it, I would look nowhere. But if it's negative and you're talking about location, whether in English you would say anywhere or nowhere, in French, you're going to say nulle part. Another example, nous ne sommes allés nulle part. We didn't go anywhere. Or we went nowhere. Same idea. In French, it's actually the same words. Nous ne sommes allés nulle part. And again, ne and nulle part go around the entire passé composé, the helping verb and the past participle. Ne personne. This expression often uses prepositions. That says using, okay? Often uses prepositions such as à or pour. These expressions should come before personne. So if you're using a verb where you're going to say à plus a person, or pour plus a person, or any other preposition before your name or your person, then you are going to use those prepositions before the word personne. So here are some examples. Je ne parlerai à personne. I wouldn't talk to anyone. Or I would talk to no one. Again, same idea. In French, you're going to put the ne and the personne. Because the verb parler uses à, we have to make sure that we still put that à in there. So it's going to go before personne. Nous n'avons regardé personne. We haven't looked at anyone. Or we looked at no one. Again, you have the whole passé composé, ne in front, personne behind. Personne is one of the negative expressions that can also be used as a subject. All right, so it can also be the subject of a sentence. So in this case, you still have to put the ne in, but you're going to swap them, and the ne is going to come right before the verb. The verb is always going to be conjugated in the il, elle, on form. So here are some examples. Personne ne parlerait. No one would talk. So there's your personne, that's the subject. It's a negative expression. You still have to put the ne in. And then the verb is conjugated in the il, elle, on form. Here's another. Personne n'a vu le film. No one saw the movie. So again, personne, the subject, ne in front of the verb. It's the passé composé, but it doesn't really matter here because it's exactly how you would put it. You don't have to put anything after it. Ne plus. For example, Je ne parlerai plus. I wouldn't talk anymore. Or I would talk no more. Ne in front of the verb, plus behind. Nous n'avons plus regardé la télé. We didn't watch the TV anymore. Or we watched the TV no more. In the compound tense, this is an exception. The que comes after the helping verb. So notice here, ne, then the helping verb, then plus, then your past participle. So ne plus is one of the ones that works like ne pas and ne jamais. Nous n'avons plus regardé la télé. When using the expression ne que, you have to be sure that que comes immediately before the unique option. This means that whatever you're saying is the only situation, the que comes directly before that. So here are some examples. Je ne parlerai français que dans le cours de français. This is translated, I would speak French only in French class. Or, I wouldn't speak French but in French class, or except in French class. Dans le cours de français, that's my situation that is unique. So the que goes in front of that. This sentence indicates that in French class is the only time I would speak French. Nous n'avons parlé que français dans le cours de français. We spoke only French in French class. Or we didn't speak anything but French or except French in French class. So here, French is the unique situation. So que comes in front of that. This sentence indicates that in French class, the only thing we speak is French. This sentence, the first one, indicates that in French class, only in French class, that's the only situation in which we would speak French. So the placement of the que is really important. Make sure that it goes before whatever you are excluding. What is the unique situation? Ne rien. You've seen this expression before, but it really hasn't been talked about in depth. Je ne ferai rien. I wouldn't do anything, or I would do nothing. Nous n'avons rien mangé. We didn't eat anything, or we ate nothing. Rien is another one that works just like ne pas and ne jamais and ne plus. You have to be sure that rien in the passé composé goes after the helping verb. Rien is another one, like personne, that can be the subject of a sentence. Just like with personne, you still have to put the ne before the verb, and the verb is going to be conjugated in the ILL form. For example, rien ne serait meilleur. Nothing would be better. Rien first as the subject, ne before the verb conjugated in the ILL form. And if you have an adjective like meilleur, it's going to be masculine because this is a generic sentence. Remember that generic always uses masculine. Rien ne s'est passé. Nothing happened. So again, rien as the subject, ne in front of the verb, and the verb in the il form. Here's some helpful vocabulary for the negative expressions and the affirmative counterparts. So we're going to talk about the affirmative expressions or the positive expressions, plus of course what they mean in English, and then their corresponding negative expression and what those mean in English. This will help you pair up how some of your sentences might be formed. Toujours means always. And then I missed one here. You can always use déjà, which means already. The negative expression that would go along with these is, of course, jamais, meaning never. Tout means all. And tout, remember, is an adjective, so you would make that masculine, feminine, singular, plural, depending on what you're talking about. The negative expression is aucun, or again, it's an adjective, so you could make this aucune, meaning not a single one. Ou means or. The negative is ni, meaning nor. Quelque part means somewhere, and this one might be new to you. So if you just want to use somewhere in general, like I need to go somewhere or let's go somewhere for vacation, quelque part is what you're going to use. The negative is, of course, nulle part, meaning nowhere. Quelqu'un, you have seen before, meaning someone, and personne, no one. Encore means still. It's something still happening. It's continuing to happen. You can also use toujours in this context. And both of them are going to have the negative plus, meaning no more. Quelque chose, meaning something, with rien, meaning nothing. And plusieurs is several. The negative expression would be que, meaning only or not. That's the only situation. And there are other affirmative expressions here that you could use. Of course, you could say all or multiple, or you could even use any number that's not one to be the opposite of que. So this should help you with the homework. Make sure you go to Conjugamos and make sure that you get at least a 50% on that activity so that you can get homework credit.